All right, here's the deal. I am a Christian, a follower of Jesus Christ, and I believe that God has blessed me with an ability and a talent for music. I play bass guitar for my church worship band, and that is something that is just like super important to me. Of course, I also like bass fishing, and along with that, I coach and captain my boat for a local high school fishing team, and their tournaments are always on Saturdays. They practice on Fridays before the tournament on Saturday. So throughout this past summer, I'd actually intended on not fishing any tournaments for myself because I didn't want to run the risk of, a tournament for myself being scheduled on the same Saturdays as a high school tournament. I didn't want to have to miss one or the other. I really didn't even want to have to make a choice between one or the other, to be honest. And the other alternative was to fish in a tournament trail that I'd fished in before with American bass anglers. Their American fishing tour is is something I enjoy doing. There's a lot of perks for it for me. It's local lakes. I don't have to travel very far. It's still like a professional style format with a point system, which is what I really enjoy. I like the long term goal. Entry fees are low. Pros and guides aren't allowed. It's just really set up for, the weekend angler, and I really enjoyed it. The only downside to it is the tournaments for my local division are always scheduled on Sundays, which would eliminate the risk of the potential for an ABA tournament for me being scheduled on the same day as a high school tournament that I'm supposed to coach for. But if I fish the ABA, I'm gonna have to miss church um, one Sunday a month to go fishing, and that was something that weighed pretty heavily on me. Now, I I'm going to church. I don't believe going to church makes you a Christian, but I believe if you're a follower of Christ, you'll want to. You'll want to be around like-minded people. You'll want to get fed, the word that's delivered, preached by your pastor, worship, with your brothers and sisters in Christ. Yeah, I think if you're have a genuine heart for following Christ, it's something that you'll want to do, and I do. I do want to do that. So as it got closer to the start of the school year, and I started, gearing up, and getting mentally prepared to start, a tournament season with the high schoolers, I got really excited about it, and I really just I wanted to fish tournaments for myself. I'd started doing it with the ABA a couple years ago, and I took a break from it and didn't do it last season. And I just really wanted to do it again. And I thought, man, I've got a lot of money, energy, time, invested in this, and this is something I really want to do. And I don't think it would be wrong for me to miss church to go fishing. I think what's most important is spending that quality time with God and building that relationship. That being said, started the first tournament this year. My my first, so I chose to do it. My first ABA tournament was on the same weekend as the first high school tournament. In the first high school tournament, we got rained on 2 days in a row. So practice with the high schoolers on Friday, tournament on Saturday. We get rained on both days. Then I go fish my first ABA tournament on Sunday. And while I'm fishing this tournament on Sunday, I noticed something's going on with one of my front Lowrance units. Long story short, it got a lot of water in it from getting rained on. And it completely ruined the inside of it to the point where it's probably going to have to be replaced. And it's a 12-inch HDS live. And that the lives are discontinued. They were replaced by the pros. So to replace it and pay full retail for an HDS 12 Pro, I was looking at, $3,000. And I had this year bought a newer boat, had newer, tech on it and stuff like that, in hopes that this wouldn't happen, that I wouldn't be, having to deal with problems and issues, after I'd started, the school year, the school tournament season, and fishing the ABA season for myself. But here we are. So I can work around that, right? I've got another Garmin that's really just for live scope at the front. I've still got a HDS 12 Pro at the console. Like, I can manage. So I fish another, I go with the high schoolers again, take them to another tournament. I fish another ABA tournament on Hartwell. And I started noticing some issues with my boat. My boat motor's, hitting a rev limiter and just kind of acting a little strange. Those problems finally came to a head, and throttle body, or the throttle position sensor, which is built into the throttle body, the engine on my boat has gone bad. It's going to have to be replaced. Fortunately for me, the guy I bought the boat from paid for an extended warranty for the motor, so it's good. It's going to be taken care of. But I missed an ABA tournament today because I didn't have my boat that's in the shop getting repaired. And I've just kind of been thinking, it's kind of been weighing on me. I was like, man, what are the odds? I didn't buy a brand new boat, but I bought a newer boat. This is 2022, so it's not really that old, 4 years old. What are the odds that, like, the first tournament of this season is when I start having some trouble. And not just one problem, 2 problems. 3 if you count my dishwasher quitting. But, so I'm like, man, is this a sign? Is God trying to tell me something? And so I believe, that one of the things can happen, when it comes to coincidences. Sometimes I think it's just life. This stuff just happens. I mean, it does. But sometimes I think that what the world could call a coincidence could be some form of supernatural intervention. It could be divine. It could be God trying to, give you a hint. Or it could be, discouragement. And so I've just kind of been battling that out in my mind. It's like, all right, is this guy trying to tell me, hey, you weren't going to fish tournaments for yourself, because you didn't want to miss church. You didn't want to not, be using the gift that God gave you, playing music, to go fishing. And then you decided to do it anyway. Then, oh, by the way, there's somebody that can cover for me. I didn't just leave my church band hanging. There's somebody that can play bass for me, right? And so then I think, well, man, what if, this is a good thing, what if this is discouragement, and maybe this is, if this is some kind of supernatural power at work here, what if it's, a test of perseverance, because I don't really believe that I'm actually doing anything wrong. So I asked a close friend about this Friday night at a revival service. I go, occasionally when needed, I go play for another local church who's been having revival services for over a year, which is pretty awesome. And I was playing bass for them, and I spoke to, a pastor and evangelist there, asked him about this, and he said something to me that I, just thought was he's in his response, he used the word to describe, my interest in fishing and what I'm trying to do here. He said, "Man, it's a platform." I was like, "Yeah, it is." And then throughout the weekend, particularly today, you know, God just God spoke to me, through my church service, and then, youth conference. Well, it's not really, wasn't really for youth, but anyway, a conference that I went to later this evening too. And I really I feel like God's telling me, that I kind of missed a little bit. I missed a part of it. No, I'm not doing anything wrong necessarily by missing church 1 week in a month to go fishing. And that's because, what my focus really should be on, what's most important about doing this, it's not the fishing. And it's not, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying church is not important. Don't don't take what I'm saying the wrong way. But it's not what's most important isn't fishing, and it's not missing church or being present for church. Because I think, and if you're a believer, we all know you can be present at church and not be following Christ. And so that's not what was most important. What's most important is the kingdom. And if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to post content on social media, if I'm going to go fish tournaments, and just get involved in bass fishing, to that degree, then, my pastor friend's right, man. This is a platform, and it can be used to further the kingdom of God. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this the best I can, and to the best of my ability, I'm going to use this as a platform to be an ambassador for Christ. So if you're going to follow my content, whether it be on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is, yeah, it's going to be about fishing. But more importantly than the fishing, it's going to be a platform where I'm going to do the best that I can to be an ambassador for Christ. And I just wanted to share that with you. I'm pretty new at this, and that's just, I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. Like that's what this is going to be, and that's what I'm going to do with it. So I hope you guys continue to tag along. And I'll see you in the next one.